how do you construe the relationship between this spiritual orientation that you developed, more classic religious beliefs, let's say? Your family is famously Catholic. I presume that that also applies to you, at least by lineage, and also your political aspirations and career. So, have you stepped outside of the 12-step ethos into a more classic domain of spirituality?
Well, I came,
and how do you relate that to the political?
Yeah, I mean, I came from, a really firm sort of, base of Catholic schools, Catholic piety. I mean, my family went to church twice a day during the summertime. Every day we said the rosary every night on our knees. We said prayers at every meal, before and after. So there was a consciousness of a kind of present and intervening God throughout our lives, my life. So I had kind of a basis in that kind of orthodoxy but when you're an addict, you're living against conscience, and when you do that, you're pushing God out of your life. So, God became a distant concept to me during the years that I was an addict, and an active addict. And if you had asked me, I guess at that time, do I believe in God? I'd say yeah, but I had no sense of any kind of spiritual experience or authentic religious experience happening in my life. If you ask me where I am on, kind of organized religion today, I'm like a sponge. I take whatever I can out of any, I read a lot. I read about, other religions, and I'm like a sponge. I take the wisdom out of each, thing, out of each source, and try to integrate the things that I find useful into my own cosmology. But, I'm the least doctrinaire person, and I think orthodoxies are dangerous wherever they are. I think, whether they're religious or secular, orthodoxies are often hateful and, sometimes lethal. And that, and being doctrinaire is kind of the enemy of civility and community, ultimately.
How does the spirituality that you've been pursuing that's helped you stay on the straight and narrow, let's say, on the behavioral path, how does that inform your political enterprise?
Well, I mean, my spiritual discipline keeps me centered, which is, I think, where what I need to be. Where I don't, I feel like, God's in charge. He has a plan, and if he's not, and if the world appears to be the way it is, and just that, then we're all screwed anyway. So I have to live as if, God has a plan, and my challenge is to put my most deeply held values first, and my relationship with my, higher power and belief system has to be the most important thing in my life. And that, everything I do has to come ultimately out of a spiritual place. And that, and when I'm spiritually centered, I'm much more powerful, much more able to affect the earth. The world around me, the material part of the world. Abraham Lincoln said something to the effect that if he had 6 hours to cut down a mighty oak tree, that he'd spend 5 of the hours sharpening the axe. And I think that is true, that if you're spiritually centered, you can wield a power that things become kind of effortless, that monumental tasks occasionally become effortless, so.
And how long have you been married?
You mean in total, cumulatively, or just to Cheryl?
To Cheryl.
I've been married for 9 years.
And have you managed to establish a coalition with her on the spiritual and the political front?
Yeah. She already, without being an addict or having any kind of, sort of particular spiritual training. She had a kind of a spiritual maturity and wisdom that is complete and whole and completely integrated into everything that she does. She's the most honest human being I've ever met. I've never heard her say even a single word that was kind of like self-promoting or pretentious or dishonest. She doesn't exaggerate. When she tells a story, she's accurate and she still makes it funny. But the word wisdom means a knowledge of God's will, a knowledge of right and wrong. And she has this instantaneous instinct. And that's why one of the things that made her really good at improv, which is how she, her show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, is an improv show. There's no script. And the reason she's good is that she just always knows the right thing to say. And she also knows, and that's just kind of a little emblem of her, of being a
Right.
fully.
Well, that's a real skill. That's a real skill.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.